Hey Run Junkies, while it's easy, or at the very least straightforward, to follow a training plan, it can sometimes baffle us as to what to do in between those training cycles. Maybe you just trained and successfully finished a half marathon and you reached your goal, but how much time should you allow before you attempt another aggressive goal? Do we have to start back at square one, or can we just pick up where we left off? Today, let's take a look at what to consider when planning your long-term race calendar. This is a question from the amazing Jeff, who asks, when you make your schedule, how do you plan them? Key Lime also asks a similar question. Is there a method for scheduling races to give you adequate training time prior and then adequate recovery? Last week we talked about racing too frequently, and I am, for the purposes of this video, going to assume that you only plan a few races per year and you have specific goals for each. And now, that being said, I like to look at the basics of a full training cycle. So that's about 3 to 6 months, depending on the target race. We want adequate time to recover from this race over here, sufficient time to build back up to achieve the next goal, and then time to taper before we hit that next target. That's it in a nutshell, but from there it gets really foggy because it depends on the runner, the target races, the speeds, and the distances. So here are a few things to consider when planning your long-term race calendar. I would suggest that you start asking yourself a few questions. The first is, what is next for me? What do I want to achieve? Then ask the question, is that goal that I want to achieve even possible within my circumstances? And this one is a hard question to answer and still be honest about it. So next, take a look at how you want to accomplish that goal and what it's going to take to do so. Give yourself a target race. Maybe it's a race that's on your bucket list, or maybe it's a date that you know that you have available to participate in a race. Ask yourself if you have time within your circumstances and your goal allows you to achieve that target. Is that goal maybe a speed goal like a PR? Are you going to attempt a longer race than you've attempted before? Does that goal match up realistically within the timeline you've given yourself? And this again goes back into the recovery time from our last race. We want to start there. Give yourself 1 to 3 weeks of recovery time depending on the race you just did. The longer the race, the more recovery time you're going to want to give yourself. Then go to the back end of it just before the next race you want to accomplish and give yourself a few days to a couple of weeks worth of taper. How much time you give yourself in taper is also dependent on the length of that next race. Then whatever lies in between that, between recovery and taper for the next race, that will give you time to work on your next target. Now, I don't want to give you guys specific timelines on how long you should plan in between races, because as a runner, you are as individual as it comes. Your circumstances, your injury history, your style of running, your paces, all of that. It's all dependent on you and what you're comfortable with. I personally like to schedule at least 2 months in between half marathon 10K efforts. I live in that sweet spot of the 10K to the half marathon. If I'm going to go from there and train for full marathon, or even something like the Goofy or Dopey challenges, I would give myself 3 to maybe 4 months. The other thing to think of is where you're scheduling your races. So unless you're traveling for a race, you might be somewhat limited in the offerings because of the climate and the seasons. Something else to keep in mind, a training cycle that lasts more than 4 months isn't guaranteed burnout, but you might see it from there. So let's say, for example, we're sitting here in the first week of March and you are looking way out to the Dopey Challenge of 2019. I know some of you guys are out there. If you are looking toward that goal without another goal in the interim, you will get so bored with your training by August and you'll still have 5 months yet to go. You might even go into Dopey Challenge overtrained. And yes, that's a thing too. It's a whole different topic. Give yourself a spring goal that might be a little scary and plan another goal for late summer to early fall. So take each goal for what it is. And if you have a long-term goal, like doing a marathon down the line or finishing the Dopey or Goofy challenges, those are still great to have an eye on as a long-term goal, and you want to work toward that. But in the meantime, give yourself something to work toward, something that will chunk it up and prep you for the next thing. So here's how I planned my race calendar this year, and it's based on the goals that I set for last year. Last year, 2017, I set for myself 2 goals: to PR, go sub 60 on the 10K, and PR the half marathon. I didn't reach either one of those goals. So this year, I still want to PR the half marathon, but I'm giving myself 3 chances to do it when I reach that goal. No matter when I reach that goal, at that point, I will have the conversation with my coach. I will reevaluate and start over and decide what my next goal is going to be. Guys, these questions are amazing and they're really great questions, and there are no easy answers. But thank you to Jeff and Key Lime for asking these great questions and for basically throwing me down what is quickly becoming a rabbit hole. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. My question for you today is this: what determines your target races? Please leave thoughts in the comment section down below and click on this subscribe button right here if you haven't already. Also, don't forget to leave that thumbs up for me. Also, if you want to know how much is too much racing, click on this video right here. And if you want to know why your training plan is designed the way it is, click on this guy right here. But that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Go find your awesome. Until next time, happy running.